What's up, everybody? You are tuning in to Crypto Street Podcast. This is Crypto Dale. Hope everyone's having a fantastic night. Fantastic market, making some moves, making some money. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. As always, joined with the Canadian tuxedo expert.
I hear you were making impressions of me last
Yeah.
last episode I was on. I don't show up one episode and I'm getting.
What are you gonna do about it?
What am I gonna do about it? Exactly? I can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
Like, sitting here like, what the hell is going on? But
it was a good. I mean, it was in good fun. I was like, Killer, what did we do?
It was just it was a lot of like
just a full episode of that.
Yeah, that's all we did the whole episode was just Killer would say something and then I'd go oh,
like
these bitcoins, eh?
Well, I love impressions. It's always good to hear what people think I sound like.
I'm horrible at them too. What's the weather doing up north? Everyone's dying to know.
Snow's gone. It's a little chilly. It's not like California weather. I definitely missed that.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was like my first time in LA, and I gotta move out there. That's pretty much my conclusion after I left. It's like, yeah, I gotta be back. So
the craziest thing about it was, I didn't get in till late Thursday night, and the pilot jumps on and is like, "We're gonna start our descent into LA." And I look, what the hell are all these lights like LA? Like I'm 30 minutes from landing, and it's just wild.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We don't see that, so
no, it makes me feel. I feel like a hick, just so small town.
You think you do?
Yeah, just a
really.
I bet you feel even more so. So yeah.
Yeah, like before that conference, I sent a picture to my wife and was like, "Is this okay?" And she's like, "What are you trying to be cool or fit in?" And I'm just like, "The wife's fucking burning me."
Yeah.
Now to our host last weekend, Killer. It was good.
Yeah, it was awesome having you guys here. Spent a little time walking around, checked out Santa Monica, Venice, that area. Got some dinner. It was good. It was like a little bit surreal having you guys out here, but very fun. It was a good time, even though it was very short.
Yeah, it was cool. Thanks for showing us around, giving us the LA experience. It was the first time I've been to LA, so.
And Callie burning the gas, just ripping around.
Yeah, Callie ripping around. About killed us at least 3 times in every 10 minutes.
Yeah, I want to get Luke involved here in a second, but I also want to talk. We can bring everybody into this. One of the best Canadian terms that we learned over this past weekend.
Oh, here it is, and it's gonna be we're gonna probably shelf the tip your waitress, and we're gonna go with this from now on. Saturdays are for hootskis with the boys.
Hootskis.
Have you ever heard of that? Tonight's guest, Luke Martin. Know him on Twitter as Venture Corners.
What's a hootski? Fill me in.
Just a hootski, sometimes you just got to take a hootski with the boys.
Should we even explain? Let's just keep talking about it and see if we can figure it out. Like, let's just.
Can you use hootski in a sentence here?
Like, me and the fellas were hanging out, long hard day of work or something, and we all just want to have a hootski, and just chill out for a bit. Hootski with the fellas, some fellas want to have brewskis, but we have hootskis, So
that's gonna give it away.
There we go.
I bet some people are still scratching their head, just like, what?
Yeah.
This is the Canadian retard hockey player lingo. Don't mind me, people.
We got literally a whole 15-minute car ride on. We got how to talk Canadian hockey from Prince.
Yeah, you'll learn some lingo. I try to sound somewhat normal, but I still sound like a retard, I'm sure, half the time. So
yeah, me too. You're not alone. So anyways, Luke Martin, guest, as I said, he's been on a couple times before, so we're not going to have him get into how he got into crypto. If you are curious, head back to previous episodes of his. But Luke, we all view you as a seasoned trader, one of our favorites. So what do you think? What are you thinking about the market currently?
By the way, only been on once. It seems like I've been on a few times. The first time was it was a scheduling fuck up, and I think it was actually my fault. But yeah, only one episode. Market wise, I mean, Bitcoin's slow. Everything's still pretty slow, despite what you see on Twitter. The people that were in Raven or Haven will maybe make it seem like it's more exciting than it is. Alts have been moving up, but it's nothing like, it's still not like March or April, which was the last real time I would say to get excited. I think I think relative to how things have been moving, it's exciting. But if you look big picture, things are still pretty slow.
I think that's the big thing. In relative terms, it seems pretty wild right now. But I think, big picture, it's still nothing a whole lot.
And I think people just have been down in the dumps for so long, and their bags are underwater, or they've been on the sidelines with Bitcoin. I feel like we're almost at that phase where any move really in the green would get people excited. That's why several times you've seen on Twitter people calling Altseason in the last since April, May. So I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been anything but obviously Altseason since May, right? That was kind of the last time they peaked out, and this time I think too it's different, right? So if you take out like what happened in the end of 2017, that kind of bubble that did happen with Bitcoin and every other coin, if you take that out and look at how alts and Bitcoin have moved, they've done very well in the past month, in the past 30, 45 days. We've had really big movers. Decred today, that's why I'm wearing the jacket. You have a 30% move in a day. I mean, that's fucking awesome. But I think people maybe need to rethink what they consider Altseason. I think a lot of people are saying, when's Altseason? When's Altseason? Things have been moving. Alts have been moving, and you could have thrown darts at a board at Binance or wherever and still done pretty well in the last 30 days. I think a lot of people are conditioned to only say, oh, you're wrong, it's not Altseason because, this thing didn't do a 3x and this didn't do a 5x. It's like, look, man, like everything went up. It's like, that's profit. I mean, that's, we're not playing, not everyone's is thinking about a Lambo, and not everyone's thinking about quitting their job anymore, but I think people are still doing pretty well. So I think it's about reconditioning expectations, but overall, I think things are pretty good.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Do you sense like lately? I've been thinking, Luke, it's like there's a lot of apathy in the markets. I kind of feel like people are giving up and don't really care, and maybe that's a good sign, though. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's partly good. I think probably half of my Twitter following is either liquidated or dead or just not in crypto anymore. I think that's probably a big reason that people aren't interested. I think once volatility returns, right, I vividly remember, and I don't know why this is the case, but when 10K was crossed, and like if you think back a year, I mean, we were at 3-4K, moved up to 6, 9, 8, 9K, and we were excited. Like you guys were excited. I know everyone on Twitter was excited. Everyone in crypto is excited, but it wasn't like a phenomenon like, me getting 10, 15 texts from friends who aren't in crypto, or like when you go to a pregame, like girls are talking about it, like, holy shit, like this guy does crypto. Like that wasn't a thing until we crossed 10K. So there hasn't been like a big psychological level in a while. Maybe that's the reason people aren't in. But yeah, general apathy, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe that's good. I don't think I could say it's good or bad. I really just think people aren't excited about it still. Most people's taste in their mouth is losing 50 to 75% of what they put in, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to take a while to shake out all the people who got really burned, the people who were in it December 2017, who were buying $18,000 $20,000 Bitcoin. But I just like, do you think, I mean, I think the thing that we're kind of struggling with, that we've been wondering, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Do you think, I know this is super hard to say and, calling it the bottom, whatever top, but do you think most of the pain is over, or do you think that we're going to get one final, like super painful shakeout, and then we can kind of bottom for a while and just kind of maintain? Or what are your thoughts on, what do you think like the Bitcoin price does from here, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, Bitcoin price, and I've said this publicly, I guess, and also in all my videos I do, and on Crypto Trader for everyone that still hates CNN. I still enjoy that show sometimes. I'm very comfortable saying I don't have high conviction in which direction we move next short term. I would kind of be wary of anyone that says they do. Most of the traders that I respect and talk to are either sitting out or if you're able to kind of get a low leverage long in low 6Ks, or you've been short for a while, then you're comfortable. But I just don't have much conviction. I mean, there's no one buying, there's no one selling. We trade in a 2-3% range for a week straight. That being said, looking out maybe medium longer term, whether or not the bottom's in, I guess it still doesn't matter, just based on my fundamental view of where this market and where the space can go, right? I think even if, okay, let's say like you are short, right? Or you want to snag a short and you have confidence that you move to 5K. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, what's the real payout there? Like, unless you're really leveraging up and you can have a sizable position, you're comfortable taking that position right now in uncertainty. I'm not sure I want, even if we move to 4K, right? Like, or 5K, I'm still not sure I would take a sizable short here, just based on where I think things are going. And that's maybe partly biased long term, but I also think risk reward wise.
Yeah, to me, the risk reward is up there. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's all like we're gaming probabilities, you know. It's like, and I think you guys are absolutely right. Like, the probability of a big up move is far bigger than, you know, how much of a down move you might be looking at if you're wrong. And I think people are going to come to realize that, you know, it's going to take a while again before the people who are really burned kind of rationalize it and come to that realization. But I wanted to ask a question I saw in the comments that I think kind of relates to this conversation we were just having. We talked about this, I think, an episode or two ago, but I want to get your thoughts, Luke. What is your opinion about a serious crash in the global IRL or in real life markets? How will this affect crypto?
The legacy.
Yeah, I like this one. I especially like it because the one thing that I love about crypto in general is it's brought so many people, I mean, hundreds of thousands of people, probably, well, you know, thousands, I guess, now in the bear market, and tons of my friends and other people into finance or into trading, and they think that's interesting. The tough part now is people that have only really kind of analyzed, if you even want to call it that, crypto, are now trying to maybe apply basic TA to things like the general U.S. economy and the global economy and how all those things fit together in different monetary policies. So the fun part of this question is looking on Twitter and kind of either seeing the doom or gloom. You know, I wouldn't base everything you're doing in your equity portfolio or in your personal net worth based on a bearish divergence on some chart on Twitter. That being said, if there is a crash, right, and the doom experts are right on Twitter, I don't think crypto is going to act like the safe haven that we all want it to just yet. Because if we look at how crypto is trading, and then we look at how, I mean, even hedge funds, right, which should do very well in black swan events or in events where everything's in a downturn, high risk in a risk off environment, money's going to leave risk on assets, right? Or there's higher risk assets, no matter what it is. So in a perfect world, yes, crypto is great. It's hard money and it'll, you know, kind of be a nice hedge versus other things. That being said, it's still a high risk appetite asset. It's still extremely volatile. If I was looking to kind of not take more of a drawdown, I'm not sure I would like move all to crypto, especially kind of with the current adoption. So I don't think the risk off narrative is there yet for crypto. If anything, I think it's still categorized far up on the list in terms of risk on. So as much as I would like that long term, and that's an appeal, it's not yet.
Killer, isn't it good to hear that?
Yeah, I think crypto gets hurt.
I totally agree with that. And like, I see some people on Twitter and they're like, oh, like bring on the global financial crisis. Like, we're really going to shine. I'm like, you guys are so wrong on this. Like, I'm sorry, but it's remarkable to me that people still consider crypto a safe haven asset. I mean, I don't know. Is that like done through brainwashing on crypto Twitter, or like, I just,
well, I think their term of a safe haven asset may be different in the terms of what you would normally think, right? I think their term of a safe haven asset in reality is probably like, okay, you control your funds. You know what I mean? You control your money, and that's probably more or less it. Because you know, I think when it comes down to it, markets, you know, it's all just a cycle of money, right? Where's the money flowing? What market is it going to and from? And, you know, crypto, it's still so small, right? And so with that being said, everything's just a money flow. Hey, if we get even a little bit of that, you know, a little bit of money flow in here, we're so tiny, hell, it would do a big difference. But yeah, I don't know. It's like Luke said, it's risk on, right?
Yeah, interesting if it happens. I mean, that's kind of one of the concerns I have, though, is like, what if crypto does turn around and then the global markets or like equities just take a complete dump, and like, is that going to stifle any gains we might have? I think it would completely stifle them. I just
See, go on, Keller. Go on. I didn't mean to cut you.
I pretty much said what I was going to say. You go ahead.
I think the interesting part of that is not so much, right, if global equities and economies and stuff kind of do terrible. I think that is definitely a negative catalyst, and I think that would hurt, if anything, crypto. The interesting part is if crypto is doing very well. Like, let's say if like an ETF gets passed and somehow adoption starts going up and anyone starts using a DApp. I don't even know what a DApp is, but someone starts using then maybe, like, I don't think it helps, but I'm not sure there's enough data yet. While it is, by every metric I'm looking at and by my understanding of it, it is, a high risk asset. It's risk on in many senses when you compare it to other risk on assets. That being said, if it was doing very well, I'm not sure a terrible economy has to bring it down. I don't think it helps, but that would be that'd be an interesting kind of tug of war there. So, who knows? I guess we have to see a bullish crypto market to even start suggesting things like this.
Yeah. And the thing is too, that I was looking at, because I was like going over this theory in my head the other day, like a couple days ago, and I'm looking at the total market cap of the S&P 500 versus crypto. And I mean, long story short, the S&P 500 is still way, 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 way bigger. And so I do think because of that if global equities go down, there is still the possibility that crypto goes up, just because it takes so much less money and capital inflow to make it do that. And so I definitely think it's possible, but I mean, it's kind of one of these weird ideas that I've just been pondering during this like kind of boring flat period. I mean, we've been flat for a while at this point.
It feels weird, because like Bitcoin hasn't done anything really, in quite a while. Like, it's just in this range, which is nice because it's given alts, the chance to get some action. What are your thoughts, Luke? If alts, there's a lot of alts across the board that look, I hate to use that the B word, the bottom word, but there's a lot of alts across the board that, they look pretty juicy in terms of that. But, depending on what Bitcoin does can really screw with them. Do you think Bitcoin will still have the effect on a big move and maybe screw up some of these setups?
In terms of it moving up?
Yeah. Do you think it can help, or like, what do you think? If Bitcoin takes a dump, do you think alts could potentially disconnect and keep with their momentum?
I think if Bitcoin was to move up, I think alts would continue to do very well. I think it's kind of a confidence thing, and the same analogy I'm using in terms of risk on with equities and other assets here. I think it's you could kind of draw parallels with FX. It's kind of how I think about crypto. A lot of people are kind of looking at individual charts, but if you understand that, in a market that's risk on FX, all the pairs that are risk on are probably going to do well, and money will flow out of the yen. So kind of the same thing here. If it is risk on, if Bitcoin can move up, I think generally alts should do well. We've seen as Bitcoin's over 65.50, alts are doing well. If Bitcoin dumps, I think it stops a lot of them. The funny part of, or the more interesting part about that bottom question is kind of the same thing as like March and April, or even if you're looking like in I think mid-July, I think July 15th, I'm trying to pull up a chart, but I can't find one. There was like a period where alts hit this double bottom, right? And like every single thing was forming an A&E, because if Forever is listening out there, and you guys, like, if you haven't noticed yet, like, it's much less about like you finding that perfect alt setup or that ascending triangle. It's much more about timing when all alts will generally do well, right? If you can get that right, you'll get the rest of it right, I assume. So if you look back at like July, there was another period where, I would look at a chart, and I think I even did. And even back in April and May, I said, look, most alts look like they're kind of bottoming, right? In April and May, you get the month or 2 month run where things run for multiples. And in July, we barely got it. And now we're here again. And yeah, I think a lot of things look like they're at bottoms, right? But it's like, it's a space where I'm sure a few of these coins are severely undervalued, but I also know that 95, maybe more % are incredibly, incredibly overvalued and should be worth $0. So it's like, I do think they're at a low. I'm riding the trend up. I don't think you can afford to not be long alts right now. That being said, with Bitcoin not decided yet, if you're not a trader, I'd be thinking about that exposure for sure.
And we all have like fake out PTSD at this point because I mean, like Dale was saying earlier, I mean, people have been calling for alt season since like April, if not way earlier, like probably like February even, you know, like this is it's a dip, you know, like, and I mean, I'm done hearing any kind of bullish call. I'm done hearing anything about Bitfinex and Tether. It turned into one of those things where I'm like, I see it and it just does not register in my brain.
That's the thing too. It's like, what is alt season, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are people's definitions? Like, because if you were in 2016, like, alt season is a 6-month run for you.
Yeah.
But, like, if you only have been in since maybe late 2017 when Bitcoin was running, an alt season to you is a 2-month run, right? So like April was an alt season. Like, what is alt season? To me, that's like, what is a DApp? Like, I don't know. You could ask 10 people and even people that are pretty deep in crypto and they'd still give you a different answer. Like, I don't know. I hope people stop kind of worrying if like their favorite Twitter person calls alt season and just worry about like what's the current trend and like what kind of squeeze out of this and it doesn't make sense from a risk perspective.
Instead of worrying about alt season, maybe take the time to get better as a trader, reread all of Baby Pip's. Watch some of your videos, Luke, some of Cred's stuff, take the time to not worry about who the hell is calling alt season and really focus on yourself as a trader and get better. That way, you can make money in the bear and the bull markets.
It's actually kind of funny. I never really thought of it like that, but a lot of people, the term alt season, that's like their safety. That's a safety net to them almost, right? It's like, all right, risk on, here we go, right? Like, pedal to the floor, we're going now. And so, I think that's a big thing, right? Everybody's like, well, is it alt season or is it not alt season? And it's like, well, it's all relative. Like, what's your definition of an alt season? It's exactly like you said. I think that was such a good, kind of analysis of it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think we are all a little bit shell-shocked from how long things have lasted. I don't think anyone expected, including me, how long this bear market could last in what we all thought was adoption or institutions coming in right at the end of the year last year. Here we are, so.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think, we could be in for some more ugliness. It's we've been...
You never know.
Look at the calendar, and we have endured like 10 solid months of bearish flatness, but I mean this could go on for like another 6 to 12. And it's almost comforting though when you think of it like that though, because if you're comparing it to like the 2013 bubble, I mean, it's gonna suck, but like it's been survivable so far, I think, for most people I know. And like I think most of the damage is done. Like we talked about probabilities earlier.
Yeah, I personally don't feel that the bottom is in yet. Not really sure how low we're gonna go, but I just think we're up, due for a move down or leg down or whatever. But I think we're gonna bounce pretty strong after we hit that low.
What I do think is comforting out of just a sentiment thing and just hearing your guys' kind of takes, and this isn't just with you guys, right? It's everyone that I talk to, and it's even in myself. I think what is nice, right, if you're always kind of looking for retail sentiment to be a counter indicator, is that's the general consensus. If you look across kind of, Dale, exactly what you just said, even people that are bullish and expecting to move up, they kind of hedge that bullishness or hedge their social capital, whatever you want to call it. They hedge their call and they say, well, by the way, make sure you're using stops or make sure you're not over leveraged or whatever it is, as opposed to like last time we were at this 6K level, in February. And then you also look back, like, what was the last time? It was also like back in June, July. It was like people weren't saying that. Like when we hit 7K, 8K, it was like, fuck this, like 10K. Like, I'm leveraged. Like there
was no regard for the downside potential.
Exactly. I mean, well, it wasn't even regard. It was like, how can I lose? And now that we've hit this a third time and we're kind of sitting here, it's like, well, fuck. Like if they didn't catch on to me last time when I tweeted that, or I lost this amount of money, like, either they're having an internal thing where they're like, I better not do that again, or they don't want to tell everyone and look stupid. That's at least happening, right? So that's somewhat comforting if you're using sentiment indicators at all, but I don't know, a fun data point to watch. We'll see how that evolves as we move.
So that kind of reminded me, talking about sentiment indicators. Has anything about your trading style changed since we last had you on, which is probably like, it's crazy to think about,
It
but
was a
probably
while
like a
ago.
good 7 months ago at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, let's say the past like half a year, have there been any big changes in your trading style, or how you analyze a chart or anything like that?
You know, I'd be curious when that was. Do either of you guys have a good beat on when that was? Was that before
Let me
2018
look
or
it
after?
up.
It
It
was
might have
definitely,
even,
it was
it
a
might have
while
been
ago.
20.
Yeah.
I think it was 18, but let me see. I'm looking at it right now.
I think it was 17.
Okay, it was January 7th of 2018.
Oh wow.
Okay, so New Year pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've gone through a lot since then in the market. How have I think everyone's kind of had to adapt and change things around a bit. What are some things that you've done for yourself?
I think the first thing off the bat is, and I came in 2017. I try to make that clear on Twitter. Sometimes it's funny. I get tagged in these OG things now because I have some irrelevant follower count, just because I spend more time on Twitter, right? So people assume I've been in this for like 5 fucking years. Like I've been here since last year. So like, and even if I was, here before that, there's only a few data points on the board in terms of cycles. But the one approach I had to when my kind of best bet of when alts were going to move, and this was like late November, early December last year, I was thinking like, wow, this is my chance. I'm going to build kind of outside. So I have a trading portfolio of like when I want to move into one of 5 alts, and then I have Bitcoin. And then my whole thesis was, okay, like I'm going to set, a long-term kind of investment portfolio aside of like 3 or 4 or 5 alts, whatever it is, of these alts that I think will do very well. I'm like, I don't want to touch those, right? And I think, in the long run, those are going to make me more Bitcoin. And that was kind of my understanding. And then that sounded like awesome. And it also felt awesome for like a month or two. And then like February, March rolls around, and it's like the trading portfolio did pretty well. Like I did okay getting out, like obviously knowing it's out of the top, but you do okay, and you're kind of waiting for alts to return. And you're looking at this investment portfolio, and I'm like, okay, like it's still doing fine. Like April comes around, it rips back up again. Then May comes around, it dupes back down. And I'm like, there is literally no reason for me, in my opinion, to be holding most alts long term. I think there's a few that I would hold, but I think expected value of Bitcoin long term is probably positive. I just don't know. I don't hold any alts long term, and I don't mean that in the sense that I wouldn't hold them a month or 3 months or 6 months waiting for kind of the multiple return, but I don't think there's something that I would set aside on a ledger and say, I'll hold this through cycles. That's kind of the biggest change for me is like, if we do have the cyclical upturn and then eventually Bitcoin turns down or alts as a whole start looking down, I don't think there's a single alt that I would hold on to like through that next downturn. When back then, when you guys talked to me, I'm sure I said there was. I think that's the biggest change. Now, if there's something that I think could maybe replace Bitcoin or give Bitcoin a run for its money, or like Monero or a Zcoin or a Decred, then maybe sure, I'll hold some of that on the side and not mess with it. But any other alt, it's like, I don't know, man. I don't think I could hold that through another cycle. I would much rather only view alts as trading tools or as trading kind of assets. I think that's the biggest change.
Yeah, a tool to make more Bitcoin with.
Right. Yeah. Luke, let's talk about, if you will, you don't have to go into great details about your Coinist bot that you have. Been kind of following some calls of it, but what was the reasoning behind that? Kind of just give a little detail on that.
Yeah, reasoning behind that. So I think when you guys asked me last time I was on the show, you asked me like how I got into crypto. So quick brief for anyone that missed that. And this also leads into how I started this. I was working at an FX market maker, and we were a broker, one of the biggest in the U.S. Not around anymore. I'm sure you can find it if you're creepy and look at my LinkedIn. But I wasn't doing anything that was too intellectually like stimulating, right? Like it was a lot more sales than anything, and quite honestly, like most people that sit in a 9 to 5, most of your time is a fucking waste. Like you just kind of hate it. And I was like I was like, okay, like if I do have to sit here all day, every day, like what can I like learn, or like what can I use to make more money or whatever it is. So like I would sit there, and we had our own trading software, and then had to be well versed in like 30 or 40 other ones. So I would just sit there and like back test our trading platform, which works people think of Binance and BitMEX and those as trading platforms. Those are like web. It's hard to even compare the two. With this, you could pretty much like drag and drop and play any kind of automated strategy. And so I would like literally just sit there and like backtest like 10 a day. Because the funny thing also that you see on Twitter is like someone just learns a moving average crossover, and then they're like, oh, this works great. And then it's like, okay, it worked great because I just tested it over this period and it worked great. But like, let me test over this. All right, it lost. So like you iterate. And you can like optimize and try with, you know, hundreds of different indicators over this many periods, and thousands of these studies can be built up. And that did okay in FX, right? So I left that company and started this and things like that. But I had always stayed interested in automated strategies. And one of the things that's so tough in other markets is you're playing against, so table selection is like a topic that Ari Paul talks about. And I think a reason a lot of poker players came here. I think it's still an easier table than pretty much any other market. It's still very inefficient. Most other markets, some of these basic strategies won't work, and information kind of gets spread a lot quicker. Here, there's still a lot of things that aren't being, inefficiencies that aren't being eaten. So I realized that these markets trend a lot nicer and a lot cleaner than things like FX. So I figured, okay, like I used to run the strategy on dollar yen. It did okay. Right, it probably came out break even, maybe a little bit above, probably maybe worse actually after all my shitty experimentation. I was like, let me try this on Bitcoin, or let me try this on an alt, and it did really well. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to share this free. If it makes money, that's awesome because people will use it and people can learn from it. If it doesn't make money, it's a very transparent and open experiment, and people can see what an actual automated strategy is. It's been offline for a month. I need to update it, but yeah, it did really well. I mean, I think it's up, I don't know, 20-30% in a month or two, and when the market's down. So it's a basic strategy. I'm not going to talk about what it is, but I wanted to make a community project.
If somebody was, you know, somebody that never has before, and they're looking to kind of jump into that, you know, the algo trading, automated strategies, is there any like areas you suggest they go and kind of learn up from, read up?
Yeah, it's tough. I think the worst place to read up, and I would rarely say this, I think Twitter is usually the best place for crypto information. I would say the worst place is maybe crypto Twitter. Okay. Just because most people are going to, and this is something now that kind of irks me, or that kind of bothers me on Twitter, is obviously just kind of being a trader in the space is like hindsight calling and look what worked, like behind this paywall, and you could kind of never see if anyone's done anything publicly. Like now there's like this new breed of like, I don't know why, but bots have like started trending more. Maybe that's because I made my Twitter account and people saw that, or I don't know what it was. Something caught on with automated trading in crypto Twitter. And now there's this thing where like you post a chart and you say, oh, look, the bot bought back here and it sold up here. Like this thing's like incredible. Check out the strategy. Like what people don't understand is the same way with TA. Like I can say, look, based on my TA, I bought it here. Like I can literally look at a data set and say, I know what would have worked there, like in the same way that TA would. So I would really avoid that, like unless you can see anything live. That was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to make my Twitter account live. I think the best place, I'm trying to think, I guess an exercise more than a place, an automated strategy is basically a set of rules. So whatever indicator you use, I think an MA cross is easiest for people to understand. Just play around with like on a chart with your eyeballs and with an Excel sheet and look at where the MA cross is happening, and look what happens when you change that, and look what happens when maybe you work in a filter and different things like that. I mean, I had kind of the punishment or I guess the benefit now of sitting there and doing it for 8 hours a day, every day, but that's just what you have to do. It's a lot of trial and error.
What I would say would be a good resource that I used to use when I was making like these sorts of things for equity markets is the website QuantOpportunist.com. QuantOpportunist is a Boston-based company, I believe. And
really cool concept they got.
Yeah, so they basically give you these tools to create automated trading bots, and you can backtest them. You can run them real time via interactive brokers. And what they do is it's sort of like an outsourced hedge fund where they look at really, really good strategies that people make, and they allocate some capital to those strategies. And if you made that strategy, you get a percentage of that capital of any profits. So Quantopian is like a nice place and we have no relation to them at all, but I think it's a really cool website where you can basically create strategies, backtest them, trade them real time, which, as I'm sure you would attest to, Luke, is a lot different than the backtest. There's so many strategies I made on there where they just dominated in the backtest, and then you start it and you're like, this doesn't quite work out exactly as I thought. Yeah, but that's a cool resource.
Yeah, it's very easy to data fit. I mean, it's the same thing with any strategy. It's like you look at 2017, and you say, okay, when alts were this cheap, based on Bitcoin dominance, I should have all-in alts, right? Like what happens 6 months from then, and alts are at that thing, and you all-in alts and it doesn't work. It's like live testing is very different. Variables change, markets change. You can't look at one data set and say that's what worked, and that has to work now going forward. So it's a nice metric. It's helpful, but backtests aren't going to give you the full story.
Yeah, and I think bots are more alluring during a bear market too, because it's harder to trade a bear market, and you're taking the emotions out of the equation with a bot, which is really what you have to do during a bear market and chop. It's like during a bull market, you can, we've experienced that you throw a dart at a board of alts and it doesn't really matter which one it lands on. You're either going to get a 20 times, a 25 times, a 30 times, doesn't matter. I mean, you're going to make a lot of money. But going on the way down, that's actually hard, and so I think that's where like a bot or an automated strategy really shines.
Luke, what's your take on the last episode? Killer and I kind of talked about the whole Bitfinex Tether relationship, how that that all went down. What's your take on that topic?
Oh man, I'm hesitant to even say it. I've seen and I don't know the full story on this, so I don't want to speak out of context. I've seen a few email inboxes get absolutely destroyed for kind of bad talking Tether on whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on the news. I'm sure my email's out there publicly. I'm using my real face, my real name. So show mercy if I say anything you don't like. Whoever is responsible for that. But I really don't buy into too much of the Tether conspiracies either way. I think there's an interesting point that who brought this up? Was it Travis Kling? Someone brought it up that now there's a lot of VCs and a lot of money that will benefit from Tether looking like it's systematically more risky than it is, or from Tether failing and money going into other stablecoins. So like, I don't know. My whole thing has always been like, if you were going to create an asset or create a system or whatever you want to call it that is like built to scam people and built to pump Bitcoin and built to do all these things that you don't want people to see you doing, I'm not sure I would do that with the blockchain, right? Like, I'm not sure I would do that and let everyone see what I'm doing. Like, everyone can see when tethers are printed or destroyed or transferred. Like, it just seems like the most inefficient and honestly like stupid way to try to scam people. I don't understand why. Like, if you're going to do that, do it with dollars or do it with actual money laundering. Like, it's harder to do that on the blockchain, but who knows? Maybe they are insolvent. I think any way you look at it is the market is clearly speaking. They're pricing in that there's some kind of risk with Tether, which I think is fair. I think it should, if anything, always trade at a discount or close to parity. But I don't think I don't buy a single one of the doomsday scenarios. I seriously don't. I think it's hard for exchanges and any company in crypto to get banking relations. That's always been the case. That always probably will be the case. I don't know. I don't buy it.
Yeah, it's not exclusive to Tether or Bitfinex having trouble finding banking. I mean, I think a lot of individuals would say they found trouble banking.
Yep.
Well, and then there's also the audit. Show us the audit. But thankfully, it's
shut down.
Exactly.
So,
it's becoming more out there. It's hard.
Well, no, it actually can't be done. So Tyler Winklevoss, or one of the Winklevi, I'm not even sure if I'm using that correctly.
I think it was Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron. There you go. Who knows? Same guy.
Yeah.
So after they made Gemini Dollar, they said, based on this, and I'm not a lawyer, I don't know all the terms, or I'm not an accountant, I don't know all the terms, based on this, you can't even do an audit. There's not like a framework to do it. So all you can do is they use some other work. They're like, we can do this, right? But like most companies still won't touch that. And even if they do, it's like a third party and it's only respected by this. So it's like once that was put out, obviously no one clicks on that and enjoys seeing that. People would rather retweet Bitfinex because
it's drama.
But yeah. An audit literally can't happen. I mean, maybe that's a reason they can't get an audit. I don't know. Even if there was an audit, I'm sure there would still be some fight about whether their banking relationship in the Caymans is real or the Bahamas is real. So, I don't know.
Or even if they did have an audit, it would be like, well, who conducted the audit? Can we trust that party?
That's exactly right.
It's another tinfoil hat conspiracy, or it's
No matter what, someone would find something in said audit to pick it apart. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I just had one more question for you, Luke. I was curious. So going back to the last time we talked to you in early January, are there any sectors that you can recall liking a lot back then that you don't like as much now, or any that you didn't consider that you do like a lot now?
I think sector-wise, I think it's still really smart to think about alt in sectors. I think that's maybe something that people still don't do, or kind of considering. However you think about it, I think you should think about more macro. But sector-wise, I think I used to place more emphasis or maybe put more confidence or whatever it was, bullishness on decentralized exchanges. I always, even back then, I understood liquidity was king, and I and everyone else are going to trade on a DEX if it's more liquid and if it can attract more money. Now I'm kind of understanding and seeing, even if regulations continue to be pretty tough on centralized exchanges and there's that risk there, and I don't actually own my coins, I think it'll still be a really long time before DEXs become big. Like, I don't want to put a number on it because I think any number outside of a year in crypto, you're doomed to just look like an idiot. I've done it before. It just doesn't work well. I think maybe like if I had to put a number, like I think it's going to be more than a year, more than a few years before anyone's using a DEX in any serious capacity. It's just hard to do, right? And centralized exchanges are for most people, that's all they need it for. Unless we have like a Mt. Gox every 6 months, like I'll keep trading on Binance as long as they're there, even if those risks exist. So I think decentralized exchanges, I think is super overhyped. I think privacy I still like. I think other than that, I don't know. I don't think there's any sector after that but worth breaking into. I think everything past that is pretty far off. Pretty alt pump. Hopium.
Make some money and get out.
Yeah.
I had the same exact sectors in mind when I asked the question, so it makes me feel good about that. Yeah, because I'm of the same boat of both of those sectors. So
yeah, I think privacy even maybe more so. I like. I think that continues to be, if the only sector, I think that continues to be the sector that people should focus on, or that continues to kind of show why it's important.
All right. Well, I guess that kind of covers everything we had to talk with you tonight, Luke. Do you have anything that you want to touch base us on?
No, not really, man. I'm content. Thanks for having me on, guys.
This is good, man. Thank you.
It was really good. Good chatting with you, Luke. I thought of one more. Someone wanted to know on Twitter what I don't know if they said what makes your hair so shiny, or I'm just kidding. You don't really have to ask that or answer that, but
you do. It's the most important one.
It's fair. Yeah, that came up in Carter Thomas's podcast as well. Oddly enough, I literally throw some water in it, and I don't know, like whatever gel is either when I get a haircut or I don't know, stop in CVS or something, I literally just grab whatever. I don't have like I don't know. I also get my haircut at Great Clips. Like, I don't really care.
These are flat out lies.
I don't believe these for one second.
There's a lot of people who are going to say you're lying right now.
And they can, but for those that played hockey and Prince, maybe it's like the flow kind of just, some people have it and some people don't, and
you're either born with or you're not. And, you got
the lettuce. I did not. I was not born with a flow, unfortunately.
I but then I got older and the hairline's starting to disappear a bit. So because those were the glory days, just letting the lettuce flow.
The lettuce.
You know, as long as
Carolina
it's
ran
coming,
a 4.2 at the combine.
when you put a hat on, as long or a helmet or whatever, you know, whatever it is, a bucket, as long as it flows out, you're good.
Yeah,
Like that's all that
the
matters.
wind. Oh, it's just
It's all that's all that matters.
yeah.
See, and I was a baseball player, and one summer our AAU team, our travel team, tried to all grow our hair out, you know, and everyone had that kind of that flip underneath their hat or whatever, and I just looked like a damn idiot. Like it just grew straight down, no flip.
I tried that too once.
I was just like, I said to everyone, I'm like, dudes, I'm cutting my hair because I look like a damn Gomer. So I don't have any flip, no style, nothing.
It's tough.
It's
There's
like
no volume to be
hockey
found.
player. It's just part of the lifestyle, you know. I think there's legit there's music videos out there by Chucky Slick or whatever, and you know, just all the flow and the lifestyle. So it's
Oh boy, Chucky Flick.
Chucky Slick, I think is his name. Yeah,
What a guy. Learning more every day from you. Well, everyone, thanks for listening. That was Luke Martin. Find him on Twitter, VentureCoinist, at VentureCoinist, I'm sorry. Check his YouTube channel. He's got some good educational videos out there for everybody also. So, Luke, thanks for the time. Remember, everybody, Saturdays. I messed it up.
it's just
Hootskis for the boys.
Hootskis for the boys, folks. All right, take it easy.
Later, guys.
Peace out, guys.
Peace.